I went black. Oh, I don't like that. I got all them boxes. I guess that's all right.
Yeah, y'all put
If
me
anybody
in one.
wants to go
They
up
say
there.
it helps your live if you have people in boxes.
Well, get in one, and I'll put you in there. Back up, dude. You can't get in my lap. Especially when you're going to be all mad.
Yeah, let me do it
Be all
now because
angry.
it'll do that thing.
Okay. You want me to invite you? There you go. What?
Okay.
Okay, there it is. There it is. Did you get in a box? There you go. Did you get that shit turned down?
It won't let you do it until you get in the box.
That's an excuse, and I'm not accepting it.
Shut up.
I'm not accepting excuses.
Shut up.
I'm not accepting excuses from Ellie Mack. We will not accept excuses.
The only thing is I can't pin comments.
Well,
When you have people in the boxes, you can't.
God, dog. Hello. Cisco Unity Systems. Okay, Bubs. We're just waiting, Bubs. Come on in. Pull up a chair. Let's have a talk. So when you share that, do you have to share it to people?
I do share it to people. You don't have to, but I do.
Like when I'm asking people, be kind and share this live. Like, how are they sharing it? Like, what are they doing?
They can send it to their friends. They can repost it. I send it to the people that are usually.
Hey, how are you, Kimmy?
Yeah, I send it to the people that are usually in here.
What's up, kid? More likes can attract viewers. Keep it up. 52 likes. Stuff in your face. I got a blueberry cobbler waiting on me in the kitchen. And when we're done with this right here, I will be stuffing my face with some blueberry cobbler. Because it looks delish. Am I supposed to make goals? This thing always tells me pin my goal. I don't even know what that means.
I think it's a gift goal. I would not worry about it.
Okay. And I'm back. Alrighty. Well, I took the liberty before I got started of making myself the drink that I made for tonight, and it's pretty dang good if I have to say so myself. I happen to have some in the freezer. Thank you, baby. Yep, got some freezer. Excuse me just 1 second. I will be right back. Come on. How do I can't bring my stuff down. That's... Oop, there I am. Missed what? Oh, a cake?
I did.
A pie?
Because I leveled up.
Thank you for leveling up, dear.
Oh, God.
I guess that's a little bright behind me. I don't know how to... I wonder if that'll... I was trying to make it darker, but it ain't wanting to play games. Well, I hope everybody's all right. Man, I really don't like that. It's so bright back there. Let me see something real quick, y'all. It won't let me do it, I guess, with these boxes up there. The other day it was letting me pick what I wanted to focus on.
Oh, I'll get out.
No, it's good. I mean, it'll get darker behind me here in a second.
I'll get out and then I can get back in later.
We'll try and see what happens. It may not let me with these boxes. I may have to change my whole screen, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's going to make me change my whole screen. Get on back in that box, baby.
Somebody's in there.
Hello, Larry Hightower. Somebody's in where?
The box?
There's no one in the box.
Yes.
No.
They jumped out.
Well, there's no one in the box. You want me to invite you?
No, I requested.
Ooh, requested. Show me your. I don't know why that is like that.
Yeah, it looks awful. Did you like wipe your camera?
No, I don't think so.
Well, maybe you should.
Well, how do I?
Do you want a paper towel?
How do I pause this? Because this is not. Well,
Unless you go out.
don't worry about it. I don't know how to. Give me the damn paper towel.
It looks like a fingerprint or something over your. Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, sure does.
See,
That's better.
Yeah.
Well, now they can see me. I don't know if that's better or not, but here I am. Thank you. All right. So anyway, I made this drink up today when we were discussing cocktails for tonight because I really didn't know what I wanted to make. So I made this up on the fly, and it tastes pretty dang good. What I'm going to do is later on, after we get done, I'm going to maybe tomorrow morning or when I get back tomorrow or this evening, I'm going to make a video on how to make this drink if you want to try it. I put too much creamer in it. I use coffee creamer. Hey, Sheila. I put way too much creamer in it, but I like it. So this is what it looks like, right? Because there's too much creamer in there. But that's some good stuff. So this is basically, what did I call this thing? A dirty Irish Dr. Pepper cherry bomb is what I came up with, and it's freaking delicious, right? I got cherry Dr. Pepper in there. I got cherries that are soaked in moonshine in there. I got a mix of moonshine cherry juice and regular maraschino cherry juice. And I've got like a little flight bottle of vodka or whatever, the shot bottles. I got a bottle of that in there. And it's, and Irish cream coffee.
It's not Irish
Creamer.
cream.
Irish.
It's just cream.
The name of that coffee creamer?
Yeah, it's not Irish.
I think it is. Go look at it. Go look at it, hardhead. I'm probably wrong, but it's funny. Anyways, delicious. I don't care what it is, it's delicious. So when I make it tomorrow, or whenever I shoot this video, I'm going to do it a little bit less on the creamer. What's it say?
Show me. See anything about Irish anything on there?
Irish cream,
Oh my
right
God.
there, right there, Irish
Liar.
cream. It's sweet and creamy, y'all. I was wrong and I was mistaken.
Never apologize.
I just told you I was sorry. One time, 14 years, one time I'm wrong, and you want to make a big deal about it. Shit, y'all. Anywho, that's some good stuff. So I'm going to make a video on how to make it. We have these cherries, and I'm not going to lie to you. We bought these cherries in Pigeon Forge, so that was 5 years ago.
Coming up on 5 years.
November will be 5 years. So they've been, we've eaten some here and there. I bought them strictly to make a pineapple upside down cake, and I've never made the pineapple upside down cake, but they are good. I bet with pecan coffee it's good. I don't think I've ever had it with pecan coffee, that creamer. But I bet that is good. So that's the cocktail for crime scene and cocktails. So I was going to go over this case tonight. It's just kind of a discussion. So y'all feel free to put in questions, comments, get in a box. Feel free to let's talk, whatever. I'm going to go over a case from 2007 out of Galveston County. The victim's name in this homicide is Riley Sawyer. She was a little bit over 2 years old, and she was known around the country as Baby Grace because at first we couldn't put an identity to her. So it took a minute to find out who she was and get a complete identification. And and it took us, out of the state into another state. So it was a weird deal. So when I went 2006, let's see, December 2006 is when I went to patrol. I started my FTO program like the day after Christmas is my first day out on patrol. When I came off my FTO program, it was April. Probably like first part of April leading into mid-April, I got cleared off on my own. And I was assigned to the Bolivar district, which is on the Bolivar Peninsula. I was assigned to nights because I was the newest patrol deputy. My shift was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I started that in April. But leading up to me going to patrol, I had done a project when I was a booking coordinator. I'd done a project I wanted to make a booking manual that any deputy in the jail, if we was in a tight spot, we could grab a deputy, sit them in front of a terminal, give them that book, and they could book somebody in. And so I was working on this thing and trying to get it organized. And there were some things I was trying to do that I didn't know how to do with that system. So the lieutenant at the time, he was over the crime scene unit. They were called identification at that time. So he was the ID lieutenant. He was also the computer guy for the county, for the sheriff's office. So I went over there and talked to him, and we kind of hit it off a little bit. And, he gave me a lot of information and kind of taught me how to do it. What impressed me at that time was, as a lieutenant and stuff, and I'm some brand new, no-name, corrections deputy. As a lieutenant, he didn't have to take the time to mentor me in that area that he did for whatever I was trying to do at that time. I thought it was very impressive that he took the time and didn't try to rush me or anything like that. He took the time to teach me and tell me, what data I was trying to extract and how to get it and do all that kind of stuff. That left an impression in me. So when I went to patrol, we get a crime scene or whatever, burglary, assaults, SAs, unalivings, whatever it might be. We call the ID unit and they'll send an investigator out. So the ID unit comes out. Well, when they would come out and they'd be doing their thing, before I was a cop, I was into all of the stuff on TV. Like one of my favorites was Cold Case Files with Bill Curtis. Bill Curtis was the OG of Cold Case Files. I loved that show. I watched it all the time. So when I got into law enforcement, I was already interested in the forensic side and the crime scene side, but I didn't know a path or how to do that or anything. So getting to talk to those guys when they would come out and do their investigations at our scenes, I got in kind of tight with a couple of them. Their sergeant at the time was like, when you're off, if you want to come to the office. And yeah, so on my off days, sometimes I'd go up there to the office and they would kind of teach me some stuff and show me how things are done. And I would watch them, work and stuff like that. That was in April. So I started doing that probably around, I would say July, maybe August, or around that time. And was really into it. So I was trying to absorb everything. Their sergeant went to a school in Tennessee called the National Forensic Academy. And while he was gone, it's a 10-week school. They wanted somebody from patrol to come in and kind of cross-train and do all that kind of stuff. So I was very blessed that I got the opportunity to go into ID for 10 weeks. I went to a couple of crime scenes. They started sending me to burglaries and things like that by myself pretty quick. But the short amount, the 10 weeks that I was in ID, I got exposed to all sorts of crime scenes, from the burglaries to the car burglaries to criminal mischiefs where damages were done to assaults, aggravated assaults, SAs, self-unalivings, unalivings. I saw it all in that 10 weeks, and it was like a crash course. The first murder that I ever had was the Baby Grace case. I take that back. It was the second case. The first case was a guy in Bay Cliff, and we were working on his case too. He was the first one that I'd gone out to. The second one would be baby Grace. Now, when you get a case like this, and I'll explain a little bit as I get into it, but when you get a case like this, you're real careful about who you let touch it, who you let work on it, who you let do this or that, right? Especially as a lead investigator, because ultimately you're going to be the one on the stand. You're going to be the one having to produce evidence, talk about the case itself. What did the crime scene unit do? Well, this is what we did. And a lot of the stuff prosecutors can get into evidence through the main investigator. So they don't have to, there may be 6 investigators that did something, but instead of having to put every investigator on the stand, they'll do they'll have the main investigator put in everything into evidence. Now, I always was one, and most of us were, I wouldn't testify on something I didn't do. If I didn't do it, I'm not testifying on it. And I would just simply say, I can't testify on something another investigator did. Well, you were there, right? I was there, but I was working on something else. That investigator was in charge of A, B, C, or D. So that's kind of how that worked. And so if you're doing a big case where that there's a lot riding on it, you're not real. I guess I would say you're hesitant to just let anybody, work on that or get their hands in it, because you don't want anything to go wrong or get hooked up when you go to court on that. So that being said, I went into ID to start my internship or whatever you want to call that in September of 2007. The first part of October of 2007, the Albert Lacey case dropped. That was the homicide in Bay Cliff. We got started on that, and then in October also, Riley Sawyers case dropped. Basically, in Riley's case, patrol got a call that night that a fisherman had found something that he thought was going to be somebody, and he wanted, have a deputy come out and meet him out there. So the deputy rides out there. Now, the fisherman's on an island. Like, when you're coming on the mainland into Galveston, you have to go over a causeway bridge. Off of the causeway, you can see little islands depending on how high the tide is. But a lot of times you see little islands. And by boat, you can get to those islands. So he met the deputies and stuff at the boat ramp. And he drove them out there to that little island. What he had found was, if you're familiar with Sterilite, they make storage boxes, like the plastic storage boxes. Rubbermaid makes them, and Sterilite's a company that makes them. And he was out fishing that night, and he saw a Sterilite box kind of on the island shore, getting hit by the water. He thought it was it might have been a storage box that fell off of another boat or a bigger ship or something that came through. He thought there might be some fishing equipment or something in there that he could use on his boat or something. So he just kind of opened the box to take a peek. It's the bigger boxes that have like the latches on it, that the metal latches or the plastic latches that you open up to open the lid. So it wasn't like a tiny shoe box. It was a bigger box, like a storage. What do they call those? Foot lockers, like a foot locker size. So he's found this thing. He gets out of his boat, jumps down there, and pops it open, thinking he's going to get, find something he can use on his boat, tools, fishing equipment, whatever. And inside that box was a trash bag tied up. So he kind of opened the trash bag, poked a hole in it or whatever to open it up. And when he did, the smell was the first thing that hit him. And he knew that wasn't right. So he looked into the hole he had made, and he could see what he thought was somebody. So he called, and that's how the deputies got turned on to that. So they get out there, get in this guy's boat, and they tool out there to the island and get out. And, when you go to a call like this, if y'all were here the other night, I don't know how many of y'all was in here the other night when I was talking about the body I had on 15th Street Beach in Bolivar. It looked like a duck, quacked like a duck until we got dug down to it, and it was a dolphin. It wasn't a duck. Chippy dippy dopey duck. So it wasn't a body. It was just a dolphin. So we get the dolphin out and do our thing. So you don't really know what you got till you get there. Well, when you roll into that, I don't think you ever roll into that expecting to get something like that. You know what I mean? in the back of your mind, yeah, but usually when you roll up on a scene and you jump out the truck, you're expecting it to be just, everyday run of the mill, figured out kind of quick. So when they get out there, they pop this box open, they look in there, and they were able to see it was a hand. They were able to identify her hand. They were able to identify hair, and so they knew then that they had somebody. And that is kind of what jumped that investigation off. Come to work the next day, and everybody was talking about it, and the lieutenant of ID, he was a captain at this point, but he was talking about what was going on, and we got to discussing what we were going to do. I guess he was still lieutenant, but we were discussing how we were going to do this and what all we needed and stuff. And the main guy, like the lead investigator for crime scene, he was there talking to us about it and kind of discussing what pictures he had taken and what photos he had stored. So we were looking at pictures on the lieutenant's big TV in his office and stuff, and was kind of going over the scene as a whole and how they approached and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty evident just from those photographs that this was going to be a pretty big case, just because of the simple fact that the condition of the person was not very good, so you couldn't just look and make an identification. That's always hard because you're starting off with basically, and I hate to say it like this, but you're basically starting off with a blank face because you don't know who it is. Along with that, you also lose a lot of your fingerprint material from the fingertips. The skin where your fingertips are, the underside of your fingertips, is called friction ridge skin, and that's where all your fingerprints are. Any given fingerprint has hundreds and hundreds of pieces of information in it. So there's a whole lot of data in one single fingerprint. Now you talk about your palm prints, you even got more. There's tons inside of a palm print, but when you can't fingerprint your victim, that poses a problem. When your victim's a child, it also poses a problem because their fingerprints aren't going to be on file. I'm talking about baby Grace turn, and I'm drinking the Dr. Pepper cherry bomb. Oh, it's good. So we already knew we was kind of, I don't want to say you're behind the eight ball, but you kind of start out with less evidence than normal. You don't even know where to start. So the detectives, so the way the sheriff's office was set up, we had investigations, but we were all investigators, but we had a criminal investigations division, and then we had an identification division. The identification division handled crime scene. They handled all the property and evidence. They handled records for the sheriff's office. And we did a whole lot of special projects for the sheriff. Like if the sheriff needed something done, he would call this lieutenant, and he knew that it was going to get, taken care of. So the guys would jump in and they would start doing whatever. And that happened quite a bit. And it was always a joke up until the day I left that nobody really knew what we did in ID. It was always a secret. When I left, we were called Forensic Services Unit. So you'll hear me say FSU. It's just Forensic Services Unit. So it was always a joke because it was like nobody knew what we did in FSU in our offices. It was always a mystery. And then when a deputy got injured and they were put on light duty or whatever, they would always come into ID to work with us and help us really with evidence and stuff like that. By the time most of them were going back to patrol and getting off their injured list, they were like, there's no way in hell I will ever work in this division. Y'all do way too much work. There's always something going on. And that was the truth. There was always something going on. Through our office, we had everybody coming in and out. So on this case, the detectives would come down and they would talk to our crime scene investigator that was lead investigator on that. The detectives that were involved in this from CID were all veteran detectives. I mean, they'd been with the sheriff's office for multiple, some of them for multiple decades. They'd been there for a long time. They were, we used to call them from the 80s, right? Because the guys from the 80s, that was a whole different policing environment than it was in 2007. So them guys from the 80s, those are the guys you always wanted to sit down with and talk stories with because they had some of the best stories. Some of their stories was just funny because you would do things different back then, and it was just normal in that time frame. And we talk about it and we're like, man, if we did that today, they'd have our jobs quick. And so we would always swap stories and stuff. But those guys really knew what they were doing. They were hardened guys. They've been doing it for years. They came down and they would talk to the crime scene investigator. Being that this was a child and there was a very, 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 everybody knew it but couldn't really prove it just yet, feeling that this was going to be a homicide, the FBI was notified. And we had a field office in Texas City for FBI. So they came in, and that was the first time I'd met any of the FBI guys, and they came in and talked. And a few days into this, not too long, I mean, we had the autopsy. It was either later that first day or the day after we had the autopsy. So they were like, you want to go to the autopsy? And I'm like, yeah, sure thing. So I ride with the investigator to the autopsy, and it's me and him, and it's the detectives from upstairs and stuff, and they go through the autopsy. Now, this autopsy, it was decided at the scene they were just going to kind of leave everything intact, meaning the bags that contained Riley were left in the box. So they just transported the box to the ME's office. Now, they open it up, they pull everything out, and we're taking pictures of all that. They end up taking her out of the bags, and the bags are evidence. The material that comes out of the box is evidence. There's pieces of like concrete and stuff inside the box. That's all evidentiary. The box itself is evidentiary. Now you think about the box itself has been floating in salt water because it was, at one point it was in the bay, or in the Gulf, so it was actually in salt water. And it floated for who knows how long. Where it come from, we don't know. It ended up on this island. One of the things that they were doing at that time, they started running like graphs and stuff of what the tides were like in such and such days. How the tides ran, so we could see which way the water was flowing, and if this was buoyant, which we know it was buoyant at some point because it floated to this island that's not going to float across the bottom of the Gulf. So at some point it was buoyant, it was floating, which way would it float from? So our marine guys, the marine division, the water guys, they all went through all of that information and was trying to figure out which way the tides were coming, how high the tides were on what day, when the tides would lower, and we kind of mapped out where we thought it would have come from. Turned out it was pretty close, but we got how the tides were running. And then the question was, obviously, one, who is this? Two is, where did she come from? Could be from anywhere. So we started running those angles. Now, at the time, we did the autopsy. We went through and we talked about things. Riley had some pretty serious skull fractures. That was, COD was from that. The way the fractures were, it was pretty evident that the manner of unaliving was going to be homicide. That didn't really surprise anybody. Pictures were taken of the fractures, scaled photographs. The medical examiner talked about cause of injury, what may have caused those kind of breaks, how they fractured, that kind of stuff. So we would have a better understanding as the investigators of, was this strictly blunt force trauma? Was this a weapon being used? Like, could we identify the weapon being used? Was it a wall? Was it, what caused those fractures? Knowing the manner and knowing the information from the medical examiner helps you as an investigator to learn what you're looking for and what your evidence starts to tell you as you get further into it. So even back then, before I'd even really done it, I always knew my worst cases were going to involve kids because I just have a soft spot for kiddos. I always have. When I first went to school, she was 2, Kathy, a little bit over 2 years old. when I first went to college, believe it or not, I was pre-med. I was going to be a pediatrician. That's all I'd ever wanted to do was be a pediatrician. And I wanted it so bad, and I went to college, and I started pre-med, and I got into Texas Tech, and I went to a pre-med program up there and got in, and then I came across this little thing called chemistry, and I just could not understand it. I could not wrap my brain around chemistry. And granted, that first semester of chemistry, it was no good. I took it at 8 in the morning. I wouldn't get home till like 4 in the morning, so it was hard to make it 8. So I failed that first semester. I had to retake it. Post what?
Probably live on YouTube.
You talking about posting this live on YouTube? Sheila? Shelly, see? Cherry bomb. Just let me know what you're talking about. Yeah, Sheila, I'll get it downloaded and I'll get it put on YouTube. I'll let you know. It'll be called the Sheila episode. Just kidding. But yeah, I'll get it set up for you. Appreciate you coming in. Y'all be careful. So when we got started, like I said, with kids, man, it just hits different. Cases with kids just hit different. So, I started looking at what I could do here, right? So I didn't know nothing about crime scene. I didn't know anything about forensics. But I had worked prior to law enforcement. I had worked about 10 and a half years in retail. So I knew quite a bit about how retail worked and how retail ran. Day or so after that autopsy, we had a meeting at the FBI, and we all piled in there. And the FBI talked about, things that they thought about. We were going to be using the FBI labs for stuff. And we were talking about different things. And I had told the lieutenant of ID at the time that, that box has a UPC label still on it. And if, I can find out where the box come from, I'll tell you who made it, where it was made at, blah, 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 just using the numbers. So I got to work. They told me, so here I am. Now, at the time, I say, I just went to patrol and stuff. I wasn't a kid. I didn't go into law enforcement until I was 30. So when I made it to, my birthday's in April. So I had just had my birthday when I got off my FTO program. Or just got off FTO just before my birthday. So I turned 33 when I got onto patrol. So I wasn't, 18 years old. I wasn't a 22-year-old kid that just came out of the academy. I was a 33-year-old guy that just came out of the academy instead. But those guys gave me enough respect for my age and my life experience that they were like, we'll get something for you to do. But they weren't so sold on me that they were going to let me do something important. So we mentioned this box thing, and the FBI guy, he's like, run with it. And my lieutenant at the time, run with it. Fantastic. So that's what I did. I worked the box. They were working the evidence and the forensics and all of that, and I worked the box. Funny thing about retail, you can use the UPC codes that are on things, or certain things may have a model number or an item number that's stamped on the box or whatever. You can use that to trace that box. So I called Sterilite first, and I said, hey, I've got this box. I'm going to send you a picture of it. If you'll look at it, I'm trying to track where this box may have come from. And this was the first day. And the guy was like, yeah, man, send me the video, or send me the photograph, and I'll take a look at it. I said, okay, I appreciate you. So I email it to him while we're on the phone. He pulls it up. He says, yeah, he's from Sterilite. He said, I think I know what box that is. So he sends me a picture of a box, and I'm like, yeah, that looks just like my box. He said, well, that box right there, he said, that color, it was purple. He said, that color was only sold through Walmart. So wherever this was bought, it was a Walmart. And I was like, well, that cuts it down a little bit. Right now I'm at one chain. I don't have to go from store to store to store. He said, most Sterilites are blue. I said, yes, sir. He said, these are purple, and they're only at Walmart. And they came from this center, this distribution center for Sterilite. I said, okay, cool. Call them and talk to them. They're like, yeah, Those would go to the Gulf area down there on the Gulf Coast. And I was like, okay, cool, appreciate you. Talked to Walmart, and and they were like, that's our number. This is Sterilite's number. They gave me some more information, and I was like, fantastic. I was like, this is getting some information. In the meantime, I say unbeknownst to me, but not what I was involved in. They were running everything they could run. They still hadn't identified her yet. We put her picture all over the news. Nobody knew who she was. We got a bunch of tips, but no identifications. There is a forensic artist in Houston. Her name is Lois, and right now her last name is.
Yeah, I can't remember her last name.
is escaping my old brain, but her name is Lois, and she does forensic drawings, and she drew what, based off of the skull and the size and all that stuff, she drew what she thought this child would look like. So part of when we got Riley out of that box and we were, during the autopsy, she was dressed. She was dressed in an outfit, like a matching outfit. And we, of course, we take the outfit piece by piece and we take pictures of all those different pieces of clothing. We started running the clothing because everybody was like, all right, if we can find out the box was just made here, we can find clothing. So we started chasing the clothing, and one of the investigators found out that it was only from Target. Target sold those clothing. So that narrowed it down a lot, to Target. So we started hitting every Target in our area, and we couldn't really find the exact outfit, but we found the shoes. Like, we found a pair of the same shoes she had on. So we bought the shoes, and we used those in our news conferences to show people, like, if you recognize anybody that has, you bought these shoes for, or did your child get these shoes for a gift or something like that, maybe somebody would snap to the fact that they recognize the shoes. Through Target, however, we were able to get a copy of the whole outfit. They sent us the clothes, that she was in, which was a huge help because we were able to also display those during news conferences and get those out on the cameras. And this went all over the country. The news conferences started going all over the country because we were getting zero identification from our area. So the detectives were like, well, let's open this up. And they started getting it into, like, our, the local Houston CBS, for instance, would get it into other CBS markets, right? So it would be cast out, which was great because it gave us a whole different reach that we were able to get on our own. So I still say I appreciate the people in the media for doing that. They were really trying to get it out and get it in the news. And that went on for a while. I was getting kind of worried. I didn't know what I was doing. Let's be honest. I didn't know what I was doing. I was looking for Sterilite box. So we decided, we looked at the tides and we looked at the charts and we talked to the Marine guys, and we decided, okay, the first thing we're going to do is a 50-mile radius of Galveston. We'll hit every Walmart in 50-mile radius. So we started in Galveston. We went to the Walmart. None of the numbers matched. We carried on. We hit a lot of Walmarts in that 50-mile radius, but we hadn't hit every one of them yet. Several days it took to get through all the stores, and we were doing that on a regular basis. In the meantime, the forensic investigator on this case he's now captain over their criminal investigation division. I used to say he was anal retentive, but he is very meticulous in his job. We always talked about crime scene investigators being detail-oriented, and having patience. This cat was detail-oriented. That dude would hit a scene, and it'd take him a while to work that scene, but he taught me a whole lot in that 10 weeks about being steady with your investigation, being patient with the way your evidence rolls out in a scene, not to rush what you're reading, because you're just reading your crime scene, so you don't rush through it. He taught me to take my time to understand what I was seeing, because a lot of times we see something, we photograph it, we pick it up, collect it or whatever. We don't really know what we got. So he was teaching me a lot of good things during then, and one of the things I helped him do was fingerprint the trash bags. So on the trash bags, what we did is we split down the seam so we could open the trash bag up. Now these bags, there was one trash bag, and then it was tied up, and then that trash bag was put in another trash bag, and that trash bag was tied up. So it was double bagged. So we had, two different bags. We ended up splitting them down the side so we could kind of lay them out like a fillet, just opened up like a butterfly, I guess. And we did super glue fuming on the trash bags. Now at the time, I didn't know what super glue fuming was. I'd seen it on the TV, and I'd heard people talk about it. And this cat tells me, he's like, well, I'm going to do cyanoacrylate, and we're going to find out. And I was like, cyanoacrylate what? I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, it's super glue fuming. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, well, what are you talking about? I still didn't know. So he was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these bags open. We're going to fume it with super glue, and we'll fingerprint them, and hopefully we'll get something off that. I said, okay, that makes sense. So we did that. We hung them up. We fumed them, powdered them, nothing. We didn't get anything. So that didn't really help us out. We was hoping we'd get whoever tied the bags up. But in the meantime, our detectives upstairs, the CID guys, they were running down leads, and they had people that were working strictly phone calls. Somebody would call, give a lead. Tip line is all it was. These detectives would take tips, they'd give it to the other detectives, and they'd take off and run these leads down. And when I tell you they probably ran thousands of leads, that's not an exaggeration. They had people calling all over the place. But they finally got a phone call from a lady that told them, I think that's my granddaughter. And they were like, well, why do you think it's your granddaughter? And she said, well, I saw the picture that y'all put on the TV, on the news, and that looks like my granddaughter. And the clothes that y'all are showing on the TV, I bought those clothes for my granddaughter. Well, that's a good lead, right? When somebody's calling you and they're telling you those exact clothes, I bought those for my grandchild. I know what those are. That was a good lead, but it was way out of state. It was in a whole different state. So we were like, man, how does a baby get from there down to here and then end up in a Sterilite box floating in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, and on this island, right? We were trying to piece that together. Our detectives got on an airplane and they flew out to where she was at. And they talked to her for a while. And I remember one of the detectives had always said that as soon as they started talking to her, he knew that they'd found Riley's family. Like, he just knew. And they got the name Riley Sawyer. And they asked her, they were like, why do you think this is your granddaughter? Past the clothing, targets all over the country. Past that clothing, what makes you feel like this could be your granddaughter? And she basically told them, my granddaughter's missing. We haven't seen her in a while. And her son, who is Riley's daddy, was told by Riley's mama that the CPS from that state came in and they ended up taking Riley. And that's why she wasn't at home. Well, it had been a while since anybody from his family had seen Riley. They hadn't laid eyes on her. So they were kind of getting worried about what was going on. They didn't understand it. Well, at some point, Riley's mama ended up moving down to Houston. And she ended up basically telling the dad that CPS came, took the child from the house in Houston. And we were like, yeah, it don't make a whole lot of sense. Then why would they come all the way here? Why didn't our CPS go take it? Blah, blah. We went back and forth. And she, that was the last time that she'd ever seen her. And, hey, Jeep girl, what's going on? That was the last time. Thank you for the heart, man. I appreciate you. That was the last time anybody had laid eyes on her. That's the last time anybody saw her. So, the narrative started to make some sense here. the narrative started to show that we have a girl that's missing. They've identified the clothing. They showed the detectives a picture of Riley, and it looks like a lot like the girl that Lois had drawn. Things started to make sense, and now we're told that CPS came and took her from Texas, and nobody's seen her since. So the first thing they do is call CPS in that state, and they say we don't have her in our system. We don't know what you're talking about. Ran the mom's name, and they were like, we ain't. That's not us either. We didn't do that. We don't have her in the system. We don't have any orders to take custody. We don't have any CPS case against her or him. That was the first real red flag that our investigators were like, okay, so she's telling the story, but we just showed that the story is false. So now we need to talk to them. So after that, they did, this is a lot faster than it really happened, but they called us and told us that they had some suspects, that they talked with our investigator there in ID and told them, we've got some suspects, this is who they are. And the reason for that, once you have your suspects, you're going to want to see if they're in the system as far as fingerprints go. Have they ever been fingerprinted for anything? If so, we can pull, through DPS, we can pull their fingerprints. That way we have exemplary prints. If we do have evidence that have some kind of latent impression on it, now we've got prints we can compare to. We can eliminate prints. We can include prints once we have those copies. So we were busy doing all that. Everybody, we had several meetings throughout this. We obviously had, meetings between us and the FBI and everybody. So we met again and we started talking about everything. And by this time, now this started in October. Well, it was getting close to my 10 weeks, so I was fixing to have to go back to patrol. And once we had our suspects, we ran some things and we were able to find video at a Walmart where they bought these products. And I want to say the mileage on that was it was under 60. It was like 53, 54 miles from Galveston. So it was just outside of the radius that we were searching Walmart stores. And I remember telling the lieutenant, I was like, I cannot believe that store is, 2-3 miles out of our radius. I was like, that is insane to me. So we jump in a truck, me and him, and we take off to Houston. We go to this Walmart. We get video, and we asked them, we was like, can we have one of them boxes? And they were like, yeah. So they give us one of those boxes. Because the one we had was, tore up, it was dirty, it was muddy, and all that kind of stuff. So they give us a new one to use, which we ended up using as a demonstrative in court. I say I wasn't involved in any of that. That was the investigator. He used the box as a demonstrative in court with the prosecutors and everything when these two people went to court. And it made an impact, I think, on the jury to be able to see the box that was essentially her tomb and to be able to see what it took to get somebody in that box, right? And the thing about it is, and I'll be the first to tell you, I have a sick sense of humor, and I always have. I think, thank you from a rose, I think it's a coping mechanism, if I'm going to be honest with you. I do have a sick sense of humor, but I think it's a coping mechanism for being in law enforcement so many years. It's just what we did to get through whatever we was working, but I still do that. So when you open these Sterilite boxes when they're brand new and you pop them open, the first thing you see in the lid is a sticker, and it's talking about how don't put children in the box, right? And it's got the little girl being pushed in the box and the circle with the line through it. When we went to Walmart and we opened that box and we saw that, I remember us both looking at each other and just kind of staring at each other, because it was almost, I don't want to be dramatic and be like, oh, it took my breath away, but it almost was like that. I love you.
I love you too.
So open the box, we see this sticker, and we just kind of look at each other, and it was I was going to be dramatic, but I didn't know what to say. It was like shocking to me to see this, like you open the lid and it's like slaps you in the face, don't put a child in this box, and it's got the little girl with the line and the circle, and it was just a weird deal. Of course, years later, it's one of them deals. I've told this story to countless cadet classes, and it's one of them deals to where the irony of what you're doing is so straightforward, it's not even funny. Somebody asked me the other night if I believed in coincidences when I was talking about Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. They were asking me if I believed in coincidences, and I was like, no, not really. I'm not a big believer. And it's stuff like that is, it's just so blatant. You can't help but see those little things that pop out. So we were able to get this box. We were able to talk to the store managers and figure out exactly what Sterilite had told us. Only Walmart sold this color. They were sold to these. Came out of this warehouse or this distribution center, the whole thing. So we was able to link that Sterilite box to wherever made it, to the trucks that it came in on, to the Walmart that sold it. And we have video of homie buying this box and everything at the store. So trash bags, Quikrete. I think we had some video of him buying Quikrete from somewhere. And because there was, chunks of concrete in the box. So it's like he tried to mix up concrete. Right? Kathy, 100%. We always said for every policy we've got somebody's pictures next to it, right? The only reason we have a rule is because somebody did it, and now we have a rule not to do it because it's got bad outcomes. So you're absolutely right. So these guys lived in Houston. It was the baby's mom and Riley's mom and her boyfriend. So Riley's mom moved down here, and she was into, I don't know if you've ever heard of a computer game called Worlds of Warcraft was the name of the game. You played it online. Now you think about this, it's 2007. So online gaming in 2007, youngsters, was not like it is in 2026. It was totally different. But there was this game called Worlds of Warcraft. And working retail, I worked in a computer store. It's called CompUSA. I don't even think they're around anymore, but it was called CompUSA. I was a software manager. I could not keep World of Warcraft in stock. I mean, it was almost as popular as Tomb Raider. And if y'all remember Tomb Raider, if y'all play games, it was played on the computer, right? If y'all are gamers and you remember the game Tomb Raider, it really blew up when it got to PlayStation, but it used to be on computer, Tomb Raider. And it was such a popular video game, you could not keep it on the shelves. Worlds of Warcraft was like that. I could not keep copies of it. So back then, it's basically you'd get online, and it was a role-playing game. If you're familiar with RPGs, it's basically you get in there. And Kimmy, did you play this game? Because I got a feeling that you was on there. What's up, Brandy? How are you? So she was into this Worlds of Warcraft, and she ended up meeting her boyfriend through Worlds of Warcraft. And they kind of, would get in there, and you could chat back and forth with other players, and that's Brandy. I worked with her at the dealership.
Oh, okay.
Clear Lake Dodge. So, you get in there, and it's kind of immersive. I got you, Kimmy. So those role-playing games, if you've ever played one, they're kind of immersive. Like you get in there and you get into it. If your kids play like Call of Duty, if your kids play even really GTA kind of to a level, Grand Theft Auto, but any games like Medal of Honor, games where they are the character that's playing, they're kind of immersive, especially nowadays. Well, back then, it was a way to get on there, and you get into, back, if you remember the 90s when the internet first came around, those of you that may have remembered that, remember when you had Netscape and that was your only internet was through Netscape? You had to buy the software separate so you could have the internet. And then AOL came out, and you had the dial-up, bing, bong, boom, bong, right? So you've got mail. all of that with the new internet coming out and stuff. Well, later on in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, those chat rooms that you had back then at the early years became gaming. Like you could get into games and it was, you'd play the game and you would chat at the same time. Much like these kids do now with their newfangled earphones on the video games. They all yelling and you'd be like, boy, don't yell at me. And they're like, oh, I wasn't. I was yelling at him. There was a grenade. So back then, World of Warcraft was that. You would get into it, and it was immersive. Like, you would just get into the whole world of that stuff. And she played it a lot, and so did he. And they kind of hit it off inside the game. They ended up meeting in the real world. Both of them lived there in Houston, so they met in the real world. And, they started dating and everything, and got together, and she had Riley with her, and they ended up moving into a house, and the house was really nice. So, and I'll always be grateful for these guys in ID, but when their sergeant came back from the NFA, I went back to patrol, and that's really where it started, because the lieutenant was like, okay, look, I'm happy with the way you do stuff. If I leave all your equipment with you and you keep it in your ride, do you want to work your own crime scenes instead of calling ID? And I'm like, hell yeah, sign me up, brother. So they left my camera with me. Garrett Foskett was our nuisance and abatement guy. He's like, I got an extra camera you can have, and you can just keep it in your car. And I was like, sweet. So he gave me that camera, and I put it in my car, and I used that camera for the next 15 years, but for different things. But so he gave me a camera, they gave me a fingerprint kit, they gave me everything I needed to work my own crime scene. So anytime somebody on my shift would have a scene, my sergeant would be like, if you got time, run over there and do it. But if you got to go back into, if you got to go back to work, you got to go back to work as a patrol deputy. I'd be like, yes, sir. So I'd go work those crime scenes. And eventually they asked me if I wanted to get on their on-call rotation. So the way my schedule was on patrol, I would be on call every 4th and every 8th weekend. So I started doing that, and that's really what got my feet into the crime scene unit. But, I'd been there for those 10 weeks. Ron came back from the NFA. I went back to patrol. The second day I was on patrol after I left, they found the house of these people and found out where they lived, and they got a search warrant for the house. So they were like, they called me and they were like, look, do you want to help run this search warrant? I said, absolutely. What do I have to do? He's like, well, we're running it this afternoon or this evening or whatever. And I was like, man, I'm working. I'm on duty right now. He said, yeah. He goes, I know. He said, so I already talked to your captain, and you're going to go run the search warrant with us. You're going to be up for a long time, so you're not going to work tomorrow, but you'll go to work, the next day. And I was like, okay. So I ran the search warrant, and man, it was such a learning experience to watch these guys run a search warrant, because up until that point, I had been on small search warrants, but this was the first homicide search warrant, where everything mattered. We kind of got into the house, and we set up an area where we collected evidence, and that's what I was doing. Really, I was helping. When somebody would collect evidence, they would bring it to me. I would tag it, log it, bag it, seal it, and do all that kind of stuff. So I had a laptop in there that I was working off of and making a list of evidence and all that kind of stuff. And we were there for hours and hours and hours, but we were able to find some really good evidence. We found logs now while we're doing this, detectives are back at the office in Galveston talking to both of these people. As they were giving information, they would call us and be like, hey, this is what we're being told, to see if this is jiving. And we started finding stuff. We would find, I say logs, they were like journals, right? So we would find journals about discipline on Riley, and, through interviews and the evidence we were finding, it came to be, it kind of showed us that the boyfriend did not believe, his name was Royce, he didn't believe that Kim was Riley's mom. He didn't believe that Kim was disciplining Riley the right way and thought she was smart, Alec. You know what I'm saying? And just, he wanted to see more discipline, more spanking, more of this, more of that. And it got to a point to where he took over the discipline of Riley. And it spiraled out of control. And they had, I guess it's that, I'm not wealthy enough for it, but I think it's travertine tile. Is that a thing? Travertine? The big hard planks? I think it's called travertine tile. Um, the big hard tiles, their whole inside, like their living room and kitchen and all that, was that big tile. And it had gotten to a point to where, as part of the punishment, he would hold Riley above his head and like basically walk out from under her and let her drop on the floor. And whenever he did that, she fell. He let one end go before the other end, if that makes sense. So she fell head instead of flat. She fell head first. Struck her head on the floor, which caused the fractures that we were seeing in her autopsy. And when you look at the floor, the way she would fall onto the floor kind of matched and went with what the doctor was saying about those injuries to her head, to her skull. So we were seeing in real time. It was weird for me because this first, and them guys are like, "Oh, it's a hold hat." For me, I was just amazed because I was like, I was living my, I hate to say it like this, but I was like living my dream. I was learning so much stuff so fast. It was almost hard to keep up with what I was learning. But listening to what the doctor said and knowing what the notes had, the notes we had from what the doctor had said to what they're saying in the witness booth, or not the witness booth, but the interrogation room, to what they're relaying to us that we're finding, and seeing how it played with each other and how it all related to each other, man, you could just see how the picture was painted from how the evidence could tell you if that person in that room was lying. If I'm a detective and I'm interviewing you, I don't know if you're lying. I can feel that you are, but I don't know that you are. But they would call us and be like, "Hey, does this make sense to y'all?" And the investigator would be like, "No, there's no way that happened. This is why." And he would explain it, and they would go back in and talk to him, and they're lying, And I remember thinking, if I can just learn how to read what these crime scenes are telling me, I will be able to know a whole lot of information about what occurred in this scene. And that investigator that was doing that for a crime scene, he told me one time, he was like, "Man," he goes, "I promise you, if the detectives would call us more often and talk to us one-on-one when they were interviewing somebody, we could tell them if they were lying or not just by what they were saying, because we have everything in front of us. We know, basically, we have a very good understanding of what happened here." And sorry, my nose is itching fierce. And that stuck in my brain for my whole career. If we just, what I got out of that was, if we would just communicate between crime scene investigator and criminal investigator, we could probably tell you exactly what happened and solve a lot more crimes and put the bad people in jail. And I always thought that's what we were supposed to do, right? We were supposed to put the bad people in jail. But that dude telling me that during that investigation was so eye-opening to me. It just stuck with me for my whole career. And through my career, I was a blessed individual, y'all. I was told many things and I was shown many things that just clicked and stuck with me for my whole career. That was one of them. So every investigation I worked, I tried so hard to communicate with my detective. When I became a sergeant, I would tell my guys, if you haven't heard, my investigators, if you haven't heard from your detective, your phone lines run up the wall just like theirs run down the wall. Pick up your phone and call them. If they don't want to talk to you, that's going to be their issue, but we're going to work on our communication on our side. And that's what I always tried to push, because the more we communicated, the easier these investigations ran. And I watched it during that, and I did it during the Cosby case, and it was just so much better sharing information with each other. So, we were able to find those things. We found some belts. We found several journals in the closet that went into detail about some things, and it was very tying those ends together, that really put it all together. with what they were getting in testimony and what was going on. They finally ended up saying, yeah, we did this. This is what happened, and it worked. I mean, I say it worked. I mean, it worked out to where the evidentiary side of things was melding with the the interrogation side of it. So your detectives were getting information that was being corroborated from the crime scene investigation. You can't ask for better than that. So we were able to piece everything together, and it's sad because it's a 2-year-old. It's a 2-year-old. They're two. They do things. They don't call them the terrible twos for nothing. Some kids go through the fearsome fours. So you start to look at these journals and you talk to them and stuff, and basically they got hooked up through this game, moved in together. He was not impressed with how Riley's discipline was going. He disagreed or felt that she was not disciplined enough, and he thought that he would be a better disciplinary than Kim was, so he took over those duties. Kathy, yes, to a certain extent, they weren't journaling what they were doing. They were making lists. Riker, yes, it is. Riley Sawyer. They weren't journaling like, step 1, we did this, step 2, we did this. It wasn't like that, but they would make a list of, Riley's punishments, and they would, not verbatim like that, but you know what I'm saying? They would be like Riley's punishments, and they would write down. But you could tell that they were journaling what the path of punishment would be, not necessarily the actual punishments. So, like I said, he picked her up, would hold her above his head, and he wasn't a short dude. He was pretty tall, so he'd hold her above his head and drop her on that travertine. And I don't know, Kathy. I have no idea. I disciplined my children, but I've never sat and wrote a journal about, on Mondays, we're going to use the belt, and on Tuesday, I'm going to talk sternly. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why, but that's just the list that he would make. I don't know why. But he had picked her up and dropped her, picked her up and dropped her, and then during one of those sessions of picking her up and dropping her, the head came loose before the feet, so she went head first. It was her mama's boyfriend, Riker. It wasn't her daddy. Her daddy didn't know where she was. So all this happened and stuff. Or he knew that she'd come to Texas, but there's a story to that I'll get back to in a minute. But so he drops her on the floor, and when he does, he hears the aftermath of that. Like, he hears it. So he's like, well, that's not right. So he gets her and kind of gives her to her mama and said, I think she's hurt or whatever. So her mom actually sat on the couch and held her until she passed. They didn't take her to the hospital. They didn't take her to a doctor. They didn't call an ambulance. They didn't call nobody. Her mom sat there on the couch and held her until she passed. So now they have a child who is unalived. What are they going to do, right? So they get the idea that they're going to bury her or dump her. And he goes to the Walmart. He buys gloves. He buys trash bags. He buys this Sterilite container. He gets all that together. They go back to the house. He gets it all in there. They end up dressing her in these clothes and puts her in the trash bag, ties that off, puts that trash bag in a secondary trash bag, ties that off. He puts that trash bag in the container, the Sterilite box, closes it, latches the box up. Remember I told you this happened in October, right? All of this that I just described with her passing and putting in the box and all that happened in the summer. That was like June, July. They put her in this box, they slide her into the garage, and they pile a bunch of stuff on top of this box. That box sits in their garage from July all the way to October. Now they start to being able to tell that they've got something in the garage. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, okay, we need to get rid of it now. We need to get that out of here. God, it's tasty. So there's a new subdivision being built. So they're going to take them down there and dump them in the subdivision. Hopefully that she would be buried under, whatever. So they drive out there to that subdivision in Houston, but there's people out there, like they're working in the subdivision. So, well, it's crime scenes and cocktails, man. It's a cocktail. I'll go over that too in a little bit. So they get over there, there's people working, so they're like, well, we can't just dump her here. So they turn around there and they leave. They drive down to Galveston, all the way from Houston. And when you come into Galveston, like I said, when you come off the mainland, there's a causeway bridge that goes from the mainland to the island, right? And you go over that bridge on the, what would that be? I guess the west side of that would be a train bridge, because the trains run from the island to the mainland. They run on that train bridge. But you can drive out there. There's a spot in there when you go down to the side. You can drive back there, and that's what they did. They drove out on to that area of the train bridge, and he got her out of the truck. He'd made up that concrete and stuff and put in the box, thinking it was going to weigh her down, and he basically tosses the box off the train bridge into the bay right there. Well, it didn't quite sink like he thought it was going to. So when he throws it into the water, it goes under, because it's heavy, and he throws it in there. It goes under, but it pops right back up and it starts floating off. He thought it was just going to sink and he's going to be able to hide it. But when it popped up and started floating, now he's like, well, I can't even get back to it to bring it back. So it's going to have to float, and hopefully it'll just float on out there. And it floated not real far. It floated under the causeway and floated out, but it got hung up on one of those islands. It got caught in the tide, and the tide took it over to the island. So that's how the fishermen found it and all that. So he watched it float for a little bit, but he didn't watch it, forever. So he watched it float for a little bit. They got back in the car and told off to Houston. Now, this whole time, she's telling the daddy that CPS from that state had come down and taken her, and that took her back to the state. Well, he's like, they're not, giving me any information. She's like, I don't know what to tell you. That's what happened. They came down and took her, and now CPS kidnapped her is what the rumor was, but CPS was never involved. So, but that was her cover story. It fell once the detectives from here, or from Galveston, once they talked to CPS up there and they were like, yeah, we don't do that. Her story fell apart pretty fast. So they came in, they both did interviews. I was there that night at the sheriff's office when he was being interviewed. I didn't do another interviewing, but I sat and watched it on like a closed circuit, and they talked to him for quite a while. They talked to her quite a while, and both of them ended up getting arrested. Both of them got arrested for capital murder because of her age, and they were both found guilty, and they both got life. So they did not go for the capital punishment. They just went for life without parole, and that's what they were given. So both of them, knock on wood, forbid anything happening, but both of them will be in prison for the rest of their life, hopefully. Just a sad turn of events, with everything that was figured out. So that's a rough story of Riley Sawyer. I say Baby Grace because for months and months and months, nobody knew her name. So I don't even know who came up with that name actually, but she was known as Baby Grace for a long time before we were able to identify who she was. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? It's not. But it kind of does. So, it's one of them deals where it's hard. I think after the fact, when you're, there's a lot of people that said that, Kimmy, at the time. But I think at the time, you're working them things and you're in the midst of it and you're so wrapped up into it. And I know I'm guilty. I would get so wrapped up into a case, man, I really wouldn't pay attention to nothing else. And then when we get done with this case, and it was like all of a sudden that stuff would hit you like a wave, man. And it was like sometimes it was uncontrollable. Sometimes you'd work with me anyway. I say I'm probably the only one. Ain't nobody else probably do it. But sometimes I would work kid cases and then I would come home and my kids would be like, hey, and I didn't want that. Like I didn't want to, hug the kids too much because this family that I was just working for, they'll never hug their kid again. I felt guilty for being able to come home and hug my kids, if that makes sense. I don't know if y'all understand, but it was a deal to where it was like, it's not fair that I get to come home and hug my kids and this family that I was just working with have all of this to work through the rest of their life. So I don't know. And I probably, all that stuff you bury, you know what I mean? So you do what you do, but you bury it down and stuff. But it was one of them deals, and I probably, handled that a few times like that. But I had, a CPR case on a kid. He was climbing in a sand hill, like a sand pile, and he built a tunnel. Well, the tunnel caved in and it fell in on him, and he was stuck in there. They didn't know he was stuck in the sand pile. And when I got there, they were just digging him out of that sand pile. And I started CPR, and an officer from the town, the Santa Fe PD, was there. They was helping me with CPR. We worked that kid until, we worked him all the way to the ambulance. Got in the ambulance. We were still pumping on his chest. That was back in the day of chest compressions. We were still pumping on the chest, pumping on his chest. And this kid was young, and they told us later that we were pumping on that kid so hard that ambulance was rocking back and forth. But we was inside, we couldn't tell. So, but we worked on him for a long time, and then it finally had to call it, and it didn't do no good. That was always rough because as soon as I got home, my son was all like, he was running up to me, and he always liked to take my belt and stuff and hang it up. And it was just a different day, different kind of feeling that day. So as I got into crime scene. I got everything I got on patrol. I got about 10 times worth when I got into crime scene. It was a whole lot different. Cops see trauma every day, and you can only see so much of that stuff until, but cops see trauma every day. As patrol officers, when you get into specialized like crime scene detectives, things like that, that's all you see is trauma, because that's the only time you're getting called is when something really, really bad has happened. So it's a different ball game. But that turned me on so much for crime scene that's really where that was the first case that I worked that I was in on, if that makes sense. And all I did was trace the box. So it's not like I was in there doing crime scene stuff, but just being involved in that and getting to talk to the FBI guys and talking to, the detectives and stuff, and taught me a whole lot about investigations as a whole and crime scene investigation and all of that. So it was really a good, for me, and I hate to say it like this because people always think, weird ass, but the thing about it is, what's up, Mia? So it's like, okay, for me, it was a good thing. I hate to say it like that, but I got exposed to a lot of different things over those 10 weeks, and it really shaped the rest of my career. That really was what set me off on that path. So, do y'all have any questions? Or I think Riker had some questions.
You were going to talk about the dad, how somebody had asked if that was the dad doing it, and then you were going to talk about her dad.
So her dad, Was it Ohio? Am I
I
right in
can't
thinking
remember.
that?
It's somewhere.
Man, that sounds like
Yeah.
that.
Somewhere.
I want to say it was Ohio is where they were from. And, man, my heart, for everybody in this case, my heart broke the most for her daddy because has this little baby and she's beautiful, y'all. If y'all look her up, Google her, she's beautiful. And, you know, they had her, they were young. Both of them were at a young age. They had Riley early. You know, both parents were young. And things didn't work out like they do a lot. And they split ways. Well, he had gotten, you know, they were doing what they were doing. Everybody, you know, goes through some things like that, trying to see your kids when you can and do all that kind of stuff. She ended up moving to Texas for whatever reason. I don't know why she moved to Texas, but she ended up moving to Texas. And it could have been, now that I say that,
I thought she came
it
down
could have been,
to
yeah,
meet that guy.
yeah. So now that I'm saying that out loud, she was into the War of Worlds thing, but you know what I'm talking about. What's up? So she was there in Ohio, but she got into that game and met home dude through that game, and he was down here in Texas. So she came down here to be with him, and she brought Riley with her. That's how she moved down here. He had this house in Spring, is where the house was. I think it was Spring. And
they were from Mentor, Ohio. It's a suburb outside of Cleveland.
Mentor, Ohio. Okay. And, you know, every time they talked to the dad, he was just upset, man. I remember the detectives talking about, you know, and we all had kids at the time, and they were young. A lot of us had young kids at that time. And I remember the detectives talking about how hard it was to talk to him and remain, you know, stoic or whatever you want to call it, because our hearts go out to the dude. He's frantically trying to find his kid. And now we're telling him, we found your kid, but, right? Hard deal. Hard deal. I feel for the detectives that had to tell the man. I have made many death notifications, unaliving notifications. None of them are easy. The first one sucked. The last one I made sucked more than any that I've ever made in my life. But all the ones in between those sucked. Ain't none of them ever good. You're calling somebody out of the blue. A lot of the times you're waking them up because it's late at night, and you're telling them that somebody that's important to them is no longer here. That sucks. So I remember these guys, you know, talking to him and leading into that conversation and how they talked about it afterwards. You know, it was really hard and stuff. But for that dude, that's who my heart broke for the most. That dude was one of the quote-unquote innocents in this whole thing. He didn't have nothing to do with that. She came down here. He's like, where's my daughter? She's all CPS took her, and that started all that. They had been looking for Riley ever since she moved to Texas and couldn't find nothing on her. And then his mom just so happened to see a news deal up there in Ohio with that picture that Lois had drawn.
Her last name is Gibson.
Lois Gibson, that sure is right. She is a fantastic forensic artist. But that's kind of how they got turned on to that might be Riley, because the grandma was like, I know them clothes. I bought them. I bought those clothes. I know that's what she had on. So that's kind of what led down that road. But yeah, it was a bad deal for the dad. But it was not the father of Riley that hurt her. It was her mom's boyfriend. Riker.
Was she pregnant?
Was she pregnant at that time? I can't remember. I think she was pregnant because she had her baby in jail.
Uh-huh.
Yep, she was pregnant when she got arrested because she ended up having her baby in jail. This drink it's this color because I put too much cream in it. I'm not complaining. It's good, but that's why it's that color. I wasn't trying for coffee. But basically, I took a cherry zero sugar because I'm a thick big back. I took a zero sugar Dr. Pepper cherry, and I poured it halfway into the glass. And then I took one of the little bottles of vodka, poured it all into the glass, And then I poured the rest of the Dr. Pepper. One Dr. Pepper comes up to right here at this rim. It's perfect. And then I mixed in with that. We have cherries that are in. Hit me, baby. Moonshine. They're in a bottle of moonshine. And we bought them way back when in Tennessee. So they've been sitting in the refrigerator for a long time, but they is tasty. And so I put some of those in there. And then I put some of the juice out of that, the moonshine juice in there. And then I mixed in regular maraschino cherry juice. And then I had sweet cream coffee creamer. Oh, I squirted in 2 squirts of vanilla taste from the fancy bottles.
Vanilla flavor taste.
Vanilla flavor taste. It's all good. It tastes like vanilla. Mixed all that up, and then it turned in that color because I poured in too much of the creamer, but it's fantastic. I'm going to make a video of it tomorrow. Ooh. And now the ice has melted because I had the big ball ice. It's all melted now because it's hot out here. That just means I'm getting closer to the cherries. Yeah, that good stuff. Any other questions or anything to do with Riley's case? I hope y'all enjoy listening to stuff like that. I don't know if you do or not, but that's all I got. I thought that bucket was on fire. I was like, the bucket's on fire.
Oh my God.
Why is the bucket on fire? Not the pink bucket.
All right, you're cut off.
Give me another jar of this stuff right here because the bucket's on fire. Got me a cherry. Oh man, them cherries are soaked through and through with moonshine. Whew, that hit me. That's good. Bring me the cherry bar. Hi, babies. Hi, babies. Yeah, that's good stuff. But that's what I mixed in there. I called it. Now I got to change the name. I thought the creamer I was using was Irish cream, but it's just sweet cream. So I guess I can just call it the Sweet Dirty Cherry Dr. Pepper Bomb. Dr. Pepper Cherry Bomb. That's what I called it. It's good stuff, though.
A dirty cherry bomb.
You dirty cherry bomb. Well, they would tell her something, and she wasn't doing it on the very first time they told her. So that was one of the bad habits. Crying loudly was a bad habit. Stuff like that. Stuff that any 2-year-old is going to do. Hey, man, chill out. You know, that's what they were calling bad habits.
That's so sick. When you think about, she's a month older than Courtney.
Uh-huh.
And how little tiny Courtney was.
Right.
You know? This makes me sick.
Did I know? I didn't know y'all.
Yeah.
In October, did I?
Yeah. 2007?
Yeah.
You met us in March of 2006.
2006, that's right. I did know y'all. Kathy, basically, yes, ma'am. That's exactly what that was coming out. If she was crying, that was against the rules. If she got spanked and she cried, that was against the rules. If she talked too loud, that was against the rules. So all of the things that a normal 2-year-old does, instead of being a parent and teaching them that, hey, this is not the time to be loud or whatever, he would just jump straight to discipline and do his thing. Which, I'm old school. I mean, I was a belt guy. That's what I did. I used the belt because they used the belt on me. And that's what I used. And I used to have, people would always be like, well, how far can I punish my kid before I get to the abuse, or if I spank my child in public, is that abuse? If I spank my child with a belt, is that abuse? So we'd always have parents asking us that and stuff, and it came a time where parents wasn't disciplined at all. So you see a lot of spectrum. You see parents that way over discipline. You see parents that don't discipline enough, and then you see parents that actually abuse, and that's how that felt. Well, nobody knew, Kathy, that was going on. And like when she left to come down here to Texas, they weren't really sure what she was doing. Her ex-boyfriend and all that. They didn't really know. But nobody down here knew that Riley was being abused. And she wasn't down here very long before that all happened. It's not like she was down here for 2 years and then she wasn't down here very long at all, and then that happened. So, but our youngest, when she was, what'd you say? She's a month older.
Riley's a month older than Courtney. Yeah.
So our youngest daughter, Riley, is a month older than our youngest daughter, and our youngest daughter just turned 21. So. Not too long ago. So she is just a month older. Now, when Smidgen was little, the reason I called her and we all called her Smidgen is because she was tiny. She was just a tiny kid. She's very, very small. She was like half a foot tall for the first 14 years of her life. She was just a little kid, and we always called her Smidgen because she's just a smidge, And then we called her Smidge, and then we called her Smidgy. I still call her Smidgy. That's how she is. If y'all ever find me in a car wreck, she's in my phone as Smidgy. That's one of the people you need to call.
And now she's taller than me.
Yeah, now she's 21. She's taller than Ellie. So, and she loves it too. She don't miss a beat on telling her that she's taller. That's a good question, Kimmy. I don't know the answer to that. I think the baby did get put up for adoption, so I think the baby did go into the system for adoption. But I can't remember. Trainer was her last name, right? Kimberly Trainer.
I think so, yeah.
If you want to Google her name is Kimberly Trainer. It wasn't High Island. That High Island is actually a town. It's not really an island. It was just one of the small islands out in the bay. It's I don't know the name of it. It does have a name, but I don't know the name of it. Huh?
Is it Goat Island?
No, Goat Island is across from Bolivar.
Okay.
That's where we found that skull.
Yes.
With the
that's what I'm talking about.
metal stuff in it. Oh, it did. Okay. That's crazy. I wouldn't have let his family have shit. But that's just me. My views are my views only. Not before I left. I think they figured out who it belonged to, but not before I left. I thought it was something. I thought it was something from like UTMB when Hurricane Ike hit. It blew a bunch of the medical stuff out. I thought maybe that was one of the specimens that got shot out and it just floated across there. But I think it belonged to a Vietnamese guy. Stop, baby. It had some, I don't even know what you'd call them. I knew what they were called because I looked them up, but now I can't remember what they're called. But they were like metal. It's like when they do a, not a frontal lobotomy or nothing like that, but when they do brain surgery, they put a hole through your skull. It looks like a flower. It's made out of metal. It goes in that hole like a hole flower. I don't know what you call it, but it covers that hole up so when nothing gets in there to infect you or whatever. You got the whole flower. And I remember telling the guy that took me over there on a boat when I got on the boat and I got on that island, I was like, look, there's something there's a flower in the skull. It looked like a flower. So is that what they're called, a coil? You'd think I'd remember that. there was a rumor. This is pure conjecture, so don't be all like, well, he said this. There was a rumor that one of the fishermen was murdered, and they dumped him over the side of the boat on the Bolivar side, and he stayed in the water, and somehow his skull got pushed over to the island. I don't know if they ever figured that out or not. We had 2 skulls when I left that I didn't have IDs on. That one and one that was found in a dirt pile in Santa Fe. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Want to get in a box? Want to say what's up? I ain't had too much. Are you asking what I'm talking about? Or with who I'm talking? Maybe you've had too much to drink, Miss Kathy. I see what's happening over at the Kathy residence. Yeah, I don't remember what this thing was called, man, but there was 2 of them, one in the front and one on the side. I see that's starting to be a habit, Mia, but that's cool. It don't bother me. It don't make me feel bad or nothing. That's what I thought you meant. So, when Hurricane Ike came through Galveston, look, man, I put it on the ticker talker. So when Hurricane Ike came through Galveston, when it came through UTMB, it knocked a bunch of stuff off. You know, like medical stuff, and it flew it out of the building and stuff like that, floods and all that. So we got a call one day that these kids had found a skull over on Goat Island, which is an island across from Bolivar Peninsula. So we jumped on a boat and we went over there to the island, and I get over there, and sure enough, right where they said it would be, there's a skull laying on the ground. When I picked it up, there was metal surgical fixtures. There was one in the front, like in the front of the forehead, and there was one on the side. They looked like little flowers. And they, from researching them, they were basically like when they did brain surgery and they would drill into the skull, they would put those little things in there to cover that hole up. So that's what they were for. Supposedly, if you pull them out, they have numbers on them, like you can trace them. But the rumor was that there was a Vietnamese fisherman on a boat on Bolivar's side on the peninsula that got murdered one night on the boat, and they dumped him over the boat, and he, fell into the water. Well, that waterways, the intercoastal waterways, that Goat Island is just across from all that, so he may have floated over there at some point, but we never did get it identified before I left in December of 22. Pedals, that's the one. That's it. So, yeah, we had that skull, and then they found a skull in a dirt pile. A guy was rolling dirt. He'd ordered dirt to get taken to his property. They come down there, they dump the dirt on his property, and he's going through all this dirt, and they found a skull in that dirt pile. They thought it might have been a Killing Fields skull because the dirt came from over in the League City area, but I don't think they ever got it identified before I left. I want to say it was a Hispanic male, and I don't think they ever got it identified. I don't like your attitude. So, yeah, but those are the only 2 skulls that I had. When I left in December of 22, those were the only 2 skulls we had that hadn't been identified yet. I can't say that I have. Actually, for a short amount of time, I had that Santa Fe skull in my office until they told me to send it back to the ME's office. I collect skulls, so I had a bunch in my office, and I had it up on my shelf. And I don't know, like I said, it was a rumor about that Vietnamese guy. I don't know if that ever panned out or not. I'll have to check with my buddies and see if they ever got that identified. They are a teaching hospital, and we thought that's what we thought it was. We thought it was going to be like a medical deal that they used because a lot of their specimens and stuff got washed out during Ike. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say we ran the. They came and looked at it or something, and I think they said it wasn't theirs. AI summary: discussing a skull found on a remote island with surgical fixtures.
Sounds exotic.
Them cherries is hot. They're good though.
What do you mean hot?
There's so much moonshine in them cherries,
Mm-hmm.
it clears my nostrils when I'm chewing on them.
Oh, okay.
They're tasty.
How many did you put in there?
There's 2 left in there. I think I put 6.
Oh my god. I think out on the floor.
You know, you keep busting my balls about how many viewers I have in my lives. Me and you gonna have to get sideways. That's okay though. 7 people. Here's the thing though, on God, I've had 7 people just about the whole time I've been in here. So that's pretty, you know. It ain't the 110, 20, 30, 40 I used to have, but that's okay. Yeah, when you bite into it, it like goes all the way through my nostrils. It's crazy. So what are y'all doing on this Friday night? Man, we already notified people. They don't want nothing. What's the book in the bottom with the people?
The book.
Yeah, I got a book with a blue dot on it now.
I think that's
I'm going to hit it and see what happens.
Okay.
Playbook. The hell? Go long.
Oh, Cheesehead's here.
Yeah. About time. Mr. Med Cheese, he's about 2 hours too late, man. Where we been? I throw that in there.
Right. He doesn't know what you're talking about unless you say that.
Right. What are you doing here? I'm playing the new. Oh, okay. So how you know what though? You're right, because I don't get notified when people I follow go live. I have no idea. I have to go hit the live button like I'm gonna go live or whatever, and it shows you all the lives up top. But most of the people I follow, I guess, don't go live anymore. I have followed a few, but I don't guess they're going live anymore. I don't know. I still don't know how this thing works. I just hit the live button and sit here for 4 people to come talk to me. Oh, you just ignored it? That's cool, dude. That's cool. Back in the day when you was crying in the bed, I never ignored you. But whatever.
Did they have their notifications turned on for you?
Do you have notifications turned on for me? I don't know. I don't know how you do that because, like I said, Oh yeah. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to notify people. When I get on, I try to share it at first, but like I'm trying to do it, and then I'm trying to talk to people, and I don't know like how to share it to a bunch of people. I don't know if you have to just click people.
If they'll click on your profile picture, and then click your profile picture again, when profile comes up, they're like right here
Yeah.
where the message is, or somewhere around there. It doesn't show for me because
I have no idea.
follow you, but there is right there where there'll be a little person. There should be
They have to click my profile twice.
Yeah. So, like in the live right now, if they go up and click on your profile,
Not enough cherries.
and then this comes up, click your profile picture again. Right here towards the middle, I think, underneath the numbers, there should be an option there to either click down or click on to follow for your live settings.
Anybody hear all that?
I'm not.
If you go to my profile, apparently, and then you click the profile.
Wait, I'm wrong. Okay. So, yeah, click the profile.
Click the profile.
Up at the top.
Up at the top.
Then click the profile picture again.
Click the profile picture a secondary time.
Then, when you're on your profile.
When you're on my profile.
On the right side, there is a bell.
On the right side, there's a bell in the right top corner.
Click the bell.
Ring my bell.
And your options for live stream are down at the bottom.
Okay.
Click all to be notified.
So if you go on there and click the bell, I guess you can click the notifications to tell you when I'm live. That's how some people know I'm live and some people don't, I guess.
Yeah.
Shirt's coming off. Or just click on this name and click the bell at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, you can do that too. What's that?
I got you.
Oh, you can also unfollow.
I got you. So now we're
a lot.
Right. Oh, you gonna block me on TikTok too?
Yeah. I just
Facebook of Faces wasn't enough. You gonna block me on TikTok?
What?
You're like the moderator. You're like, I didn't even know it was live. That's funny.
Don't make me block you again.
Block me. See, y'all keep saying text me, notify me personally. I think y'all are digging at me because I only got 8 people in here. If I had like 300,000 people in here, I couldn't text everybody. You hear that?
That's a fire truck.
I was too hot in a no hot
Where's
zone.
the ambulance?
That sounds like an ambulance.
Okay. That's close.
Well, people always be getting auto peds up here on the highway.
Oh, don't say that, though.
If it gets any closer, I'm gonna take off running.
Well, now it sounds like they're going.
Yeah, they're up. Yeah, they passed us.
They're going down that way now? Okay.
Yeah. Going toward the chicken plant.
Hope there ain't another wreck out there.
Right. Yeah, we've been having a lot of bad wrecks around here lately. Although I sent Ellie a picture today and I was like, look at this truck or car or whatever it is. And she told me later on that them people walked away from that. They were injured, but it wasn't fatality for them. What are we doing for the rest of the night? Anybody got any good things going on?
Take shower.
We got to get up early tomorrow because we got Palestine trade days.
I hope it don't rain.
Yeah, hopefully it won't rain too much. Digging, huh? I hear you. I got some questions I need to get answered. The hell?
I think they're after a frog.
That's probably what I'm going to be doing tomorrow when I get done at the trade days. Is digging. I also have a tree back here I need to cut up with a chainsaw. I got stuff I need to take out of my bushes beside the house. Do you have an idea of where you're going to be digging? That's what ours did. We had a dead tree when we moved in here, but we come out one day and it was laid over. So I guess the wind got too bad one night and just laid it over. So I'm going to chop it up into pieces.
Make guacamole.
There you go.
Sorry.
Y'all talk about my cherries. Babe. Ruckus.
I think he's after a frog.
I don't care what he's after. He's going to knock that green thing over.
Just tell him he can't help it.
Bass holes. Don't be a bass hole, buddy.
That's what they do. They hunt.
Anything else good happening? Questions, comments, concerns? I have not forgotten the stuff about the detectives. I know you think I have, but I have not forgotten.
Y'all talking code too much. Nobody knows what you're saying.
We're not doing cookies tomorrow. We're just doing. We were going to do popcorn, but we don't have that ready yet, so we're just going to do signs. Because when she turns her microphone on, it drowns out, like it gets a lot of feedback with my phone. Yeah, now we've got cookies in the freezer, and I mean I took some for breakfast this morning, but peanut butter and a Cookie Monster. And then I got done eating the cookies, and I walked out of my office to go into the break room, and somebody brought donuts, and I was like, good Lord have mercy.
I think it was National Donut Day today.
Well, I didn't eat no donuts until I came back from court, and then I had 2 donuts. Okay, love you. I'm a girlfriend. I love my girlfriend. I love my girlfriend. Oh, it's girlfriend. I love my girlfriend. Okay. Absolutely. Hey, Kimmy, I was going to ask you earlier, is that Fruity Pebble Blizzard, is it like a limited time deal or is it for a while? Do you know? I'm a girlfriend. I love a girlfriend. I love my girl. I love my girlfriend. It ain't on their menu though, right? You have to go up there and ask for it because I didn't see it when we went the last time. I didn't see it on the menu. But when we went for those mint ones that Ashley was talking about, we had to ask for them because they didn't have it all on the menu.
They had the cone on the menu,
yeah,
but they didn't have that parfait that she
right.
was talking about.
It's on the menu. It wasn't when we went, so I wonder if they did. I wonder if we went right before they put it on.
Probably.
Maybe, I don't know.
I was trying to think of when I think they changed. We hadn't been there in a while.
A secret minnow. Well, it looks like I'm going to Tyler for a. Ooh, give me a. Oh, give me. Oh. I'm going to go to Tyler and get me. Oh, that's my girlfriend. I'm going to go to Tyler. I'm going to get me a Fruity Pebbles Blizzard. And then I'm going to dip the Fruity Pebble macarons in the Blizzard.
Oh my God.
Who's fat? This guy right here. That sounds fantastic.
The drinks be hitting.
I only drank one drink. It's not.
It was a big one.
It's not hitting anything.
Oh my God. You're so dumb.
Hey, have you seen her store in Waco? She's been doing good business there.
Yeah, she got Fruity Pebble apples too, right?
She's a Fruity Pebble apples. What'd you say?
Didn't you get a Fruity Pebble apple from
I
the
did,
apple lady?
from the
Okay.
Apple gal.
And then you had Fruity Pebble.
I've never been to Tia Juanita's. Is that in Tyler?
You got Fruity Pebble.
Good thing I ain't diabetic.
What are those things? Macarons. You got.
Yeah, I got Fruity Pebble macarons too.
And then you can wash it down with the Fruity Pebble milkshake.
Yeah, I have never been to Tia Juanita's. What was the drink? Was it a margarita or what? Or do I have to say the Rita the Margs?
Oh my gosh. I wonder where it is down by Galveston, because I don't think we would.
Where's it out down by Galveston? Oh yeah, now we're talking. Tia Juanita's. I don't remember ever seeing one of those before we left. Is it in League City, like off the freeway, or is it somewhere else? On Bolivar. What? Tia Juanita's on Bolivar. I wonder if that took the place of... Shoot, what was that called? Is it the place across from... was it Jose's? 2275... I hadn't been there forever because we didn't have a Tia Juanita's when I used to work over there. I wonder if they...
That still was kind of forever.
I wonder... Yeah, it was a long time ago. I wonder if it took... What was that place called that they built on the left there when you're going into Crystal Beach? Oh, yeah, it's been longer than that since I worked over there.
I can't think of.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know where you're talking
I see the building,
about.
but I don't know if that's something different because it wasn't Tia Juanita's, it was something else. I'm a gear. TJFish.com. Yeah, I have to check that out. When they rebuilt, a lot of those businesses along 87, they built them and then they didn't last. They changed to something else. I want to say Jose's rebuilt Jose's in a different place on 87. Last time I ate over there, it was Jose's, but that's been a while. Did you look it up on the map?
I'm looking at it. They have one in Athens, too.
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
Oh, okay.
1900 East Tyler Street is the address in Athens.
Okay.
We might have to go check that out.
They got one in Waco. Winnie.
I ain't got no enemies, man.
Oh. It looks like it's in the old, that old, grocery store building.
Where the big store is?
That's what it looks like to me. Is that not it?
No, I think that's over where... It looks like it might be in the mall. Well, I don't know because it's got the things out front. That might be a big store.
That's what it looks like to me.
It kind of does. Like to sell out of or what, Kimmy? Baby, I'm a good girl. Come on. I'm a good girl. I know
It's
you
the
just want to
mall.
lay in my lap. The mall?
Where Sherman Williams
Yep.
is? Yeah.
Where the liquor store and all that used to be?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of food truck you want? Yep, I'm in for the painkiller. We are at Palestine Trade Days tomorrow, and then the Tomato Fest is going to be the 13th in Jacksonville. We'll be there too. Big back specials all day and night.
That's awesome.
Look, AI summary. The group is planning a trip to get a Fruity Pebbles Blizzard. Yeah, that painkiller sounded pretty good. Next time, we might have to go to the one in Athens. Check it out. Oh, I got subpoenaed for Tyler, so I might have to go there next week. It's just to go and come back, but I forgot to tell you, Smith County.
Oh.
So I forgot to tell you. Yeah, look, I drank a thing called a painkiller, but it wasn't in a toasted coconut shell or whatever. But I haven't had a good pina colada in a long time. I do like a good pineapple margarita, though. I like frozen margaritas.
I like pineapple margaritas. That's about the only kind of margarita that I like.
I no longer felt cranky. The pineapple?
Uh-huh.
There's down there in Galveston County, there's a restaurant called La Brisa's, and they do a flight, like a margarita flight. The glasses, are like this big or whatever. They do like a flight, and I used to get that. It's good. I got some good ones. Till Monday, they gonna get it all done by then, or what? You gonna do a walk around, make sure it looks right before you take off? Crime and cocktails at Tijuanitas. Well, good, man. I hope they get it done for you. Make sure you spec that out before you roll off the lot. All right. I will find out for sure. He's supposed to let me know for sure Monday if they're going to need me or not, or what day they're going to need me. Because your shit's illegal.
What?
Huh?
What did you say?
She said, "Why do you have a loner?" I said, "Because your shit's illegal."
Oh my gosh.
That's fine. Limo tent. Well, I got up to 9 people for a minute. It was teetering if it's to go double digits. Well, when you're a celebrity, I mean, you got to have those things. Limo tent and bulletproof glass. Well, I appreciate y'all hanging out tonight. I think I'm going to jump off. We got to get up and get things loaded in the morning because I didn't load. Usually I load the night before, and I didn't do that tonight. So, but what time we got to be there? 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
On guard, got that limo tent because he's a celebrity. Kathy, I appreciate you. You've always hung out to the end, man. We appreciate you. Thank y'all for coming in and hanging out, BSing a little bit. Always a good time. If y'all got any messages, cases, or anything you want to look at, holler at me. Let me know, and we'll do some research, and we'll see what we can get going.
If anybody wants to follow me, I'll send the live to you. Every time he goes live, if you want to do that, that's just another way to get a notification.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you follow Ellie Mac, she'll notify everybody.
Yeah, I'll share it to you when we go live.
Yeah, I got some. That's for another live though. Sorry. That's what I'm getting together to talk about. Probably Monday is what I'm thinking. Buy me drinks for personal texts.
Whoa.
Right?
Hang on.
That gets a little dangerous. Is that a Monster can or is that?
I'm not sure about that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm gonna get on Monday night. I think that's what I was gonna talk about Monday night. I was wanting to wait until it was over, but I think I'm gonna hit it on Monday just to get it, because I was reading some stuff today that is crazy to me. But yeah, so probably Monday when I get on, we're gonna talk about the Carmelo Anthony trial, and it's almost it's always good when it's a tax write-off. Oh man, I bet, girl, you got to stop, baby. Baby. Yeah, man. I bet they are, Kimmy. They got a lot going on over there. So we'll talk about that on Monday. Bring your questions, bring your comments. I'll put up a video. I'll probably make it tomorrow when I get home, just because it's so dark out here right now. But we're gonna make a video on how to make that drink. Yeah, they're complaining about a lot of things about the jury makeup. I don't know who Sarah is, so I'm gonna have to say no. Anywho, we're gonna jump off so I can get ready for bed, so we can get up and get going in the morning. I will holler at y'all again here on. I might go live this weekend on my Book of Faces. I don't know, but I'm going to go live here on Monday, and we'll talk about Carmelo Anthony trial. Sarah Fields. Yes, I am following her. That's the investigative reporter, right? I'm going to try to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yep. I am. I think I just followed her yesterday, maybe, or the day before. But yeah, I am following her. That's some crazy stuff too. But anywho, I hope y'all have a good weekend. Y'all be safe. Be careful. If you got anything to ask or whatever, feel free to shoot me a message. We will talk to y'all later. Bye. We can use